A woman is shackled in heavy chains weighing about 300 pounds and thrown into a water tank. Above her, predatory fish circle hungrily. In 60 seconds, they will be released into the tank, adding real danger to the escape act for the watching audience. The woman confidently unlocks the handcuffs on her wrists, but the chains around her feet get stuck. Despite her repeated efforts, she can't free herself and starts banging on the glass, signaling for help. The crowd becomes uneasy. A young black man grabs a steel pipe and attempts to break the glass, but it's futile. As time runs out, the woman finally manages to free herself. Hundreds of predatory fish swarm around her, and to the crowd's horror, the water turns red with her scream. Panic spreads, but moments later, she suddenly reappears unharmed in the middle of the audience. It's revealed to be a magic trick. She is Henley Reeves, one of the best escape artists in the country. After the show, she notices a mysterious tarot card floating in the water tank. Its back features the Eye of Horus, the emblem of the Eye, a secretive and elite magic society. Membership in this organization is the ultimate honor for magicians. Rumors suggest they recruit new members only twice a century, and those chosen must follow their directions without question. The card leads Henley to a strange old apartment where she meets three others also summoned by similar cards. Daniel Atlas, a smooth-talking card trick expert, Merritt McKinney, a clever hypnotist, and Jack Wilder, a resourceful con artist. Together, they find a hidden room filled with complex mechanisms. When activated, the walls light up to reveal an elaborate blueprint for an extraordinary magic act designed by the Eye. 1 year later, the group becomes the Four Horsemen and prepares for their biggest show yet. On stage, they announce their plan to rob a bank in front of a live audience. Using a random lottery, they select a man from the crowd to decide which bank to target. He picks a bank in France, thousands of miles away, but the horsemen assure the audience that distance is not a problem. They fit the man with a special helmet and ask him to pick a card from a deck, signing it with his name. After a dramatic setup, a teleportation device is revealed. As the curtain drops, the man seemingly vanishes. Moments later, his image appears on a giant screen. He is inside the vault of the French bank, surrounded by 3.5 million euros. Following instructions, he places his signed card and the ticket for tonight's show among the cash. Then, activating the helmet, the man triggers a system that sends all the money through the bank's ventilation system. Minutes later, the cash rains down over the audience in the theater, who erupt in cheers. As the crowd celebrates, a lone figure sits calmly in the audience, Thaddeus Bradley, a professional magician who exposes tricks. Unknown to the performers, he has secretly recorded the entire act. Meanwhile, in France, the bank staff opens their vault and is left speechless when they find it empty, with only the signed card and show ticket left behind. All the cash from the French bank vault had vanished without a trace, leaving only the signed card and the performance ticket behind. Agent Dylan Rhodes was assigned to lead the investigation. He quickly apprehended the Four Horsemen, but their airtight alibis left the authorities with no choice but to release them due to insufficient evidence. Soon after, Dylan learned that Thaddeus Bradley, a notorious magician turned magic exposer, had been present at the show and recorded the entire act. Dylan visited Thaddeus at his office. Once a magician himself, Thaddeus now made a lucrative career out of revealing magic tricks. He agreed to help Dylan and took him back to the performance venue to explain how the heist was staged. Thaddeus revealed that there was a hidden chamber beneath the stage. The Four Horsemen had created an exact replica of the French bank vault there. The lucky audience member chosen during the performance had been pre-selected long before the show. The Horsemen had orchestrated numerous encounters with him beforehand, planting subtle psychological cues to ensure he would attend the performance and sit in a pre-arranged seat. During the show, when the audience randomly picked a seat number, the Four Horsemen already had that number prepared and concealed in their sleeves. Once on stage, Merritt, the hypnotist, used his skills to manipulate the participant, turning him into an unknowing accomplice. However, Thaddeus clarified that the Horsemen didn't rob the bank directly. Instead, they intercepted a train carrying 3.5 million euros and swapped the real money for fake bills made from flash paper, which disintegrates when exposed to heat. The fake cash was placed in the bank vault, while the real money was smuggled into the theater and released over the audience. The signed card and performance ticket left in the vault were created using the participant's credit card to forge his signature. Armed with this information, Dylan set out to track down the Horsemen, but their bold performances only escalated. In their next act, the escape artist, Henley, placed a rabbit into a box. When she reopened it moments later, the rabbit had vanished. The trick used light refraction to deceive the audience's eyes. Next, Merritt hypnotized 12 volunteers from the audience, guiding them back to their seats without them realizing they had been hypnotized. These were just warm-ups. For the main event, Merritt asked audience members to write their savings amounts on paper. Then, he invited the show's wealthy sponsor on stage. Pretending to read his mind, he accurately guessed the sponsor's savings, $140 million. The sponsor laughed nervously, not knowing what would come next. Suddenly, Jack, the group's trickster, produced a large flashlight and began waving it over a check with the sponsor's balance displayed on a screen. To everyone's astonishment, the amount decreased by $70,000. At the same time, an audience member's savings balance increased by the same amount. Jack waved the flashlight again, reducing the balance further, and another audience member received $280,000. The sponsor, visibly anxious, assumed it was all part of the show, but the crowd couldn't contain their amazement. The audience at the performance began receiving deposit notifications on their phones. Within minutes, the $140 million had been fully distributed among them. The truth came to light. The sponsor was an unethical insurance mogul who had repeatedly denied compensation to policyholders who experienced legitimate accidents. The audience, who had all been his victims, cheered in support of the Four Horsemen, while the enraged sponsor stormed off in fury. As Dylan attempted to arrest the Four Horsemen, the 12 audience members who had been hypnotized earlier sprang into action, tackling him to the ground and allowing the magicians to escape. It was revealed that, before the show, the Four Horsemen had used mind control techniques on the sponsor during a plane ride, extracting crucial information to access and redistribute his funds. Furious over the incident, the sponsor hired Thaddeus to destroy the Four Horsemen's reputation and make them pay. Meanwhile, Dylan discovered that his phone had been switched. The new device was bugged, explaining how the Four Horsemen had managed to evade capture during each operation. Determined to outsmart them, Dylan used the phone to trace their location. However, the Horsemen anticipated this and destroyed the phone before Dylan could act. Jack, the thief, and Merritt, the hypnotist, began organizing evidence of their crimes. Dylan and his team located the group's hideout, forcing the magicians to evacuate. 3 of them escaped safely, but Jack stayed behind to destroy incriminating evidence. Dylan cornered him, but Jack managed to flee in a car, leading to a high-speed chase. Jack's escape ended tragically when his car crashed into a stone pillar and overturned. Dylan rushed to save him, but the vehicle's fuel tank ignited, triggering a fiery explosion. With Jack presumed dead, only 3 horsemen remained, yet they continued their audacious plans. The remaining magicians discovered their next target, a secure safe containing $500 million. Dylan and the agents worked tirelessly to intercept them, heading to the warehouse where the safe was kept. However, they found it missing. The warehouse administrator revealed that the director had ordered its removal. Moments later, the director, standing nearby, inexplicably transformed into a violinist, playing enthusiastically. It was a trick. The director had been hypnotized earlier, leading him to issue the wrong orders. Acting quickly, the agents stopped the transport vehicle carrying the safe, intending to catch the horsemen in the act. But when Dylan opened the safe, it contained only balloons. The agents had been fooled again. Meanwhile, the Four Horsemen prepared for their grand finale, setting the stage for their most breathtaking performance yet. The 3 remaining horsemen stood on a rooftop, thanked the audience, and bid them farewell. They leaped off the building, transforming into a cascade of bills that scattered into the night. When the agents investigated, they found the cash was fake, while the real $500 million had been secretly loaded into Thaddeus's car. Arrogantly unaware, Thaddeus had been set up as the scapegoat for the heist. In prison, Thaddeus pieced together how the Four Horsemen executed the theft. The safe had never left the warehouse. Instead, it was concealed using mirrors, creating the illusion of an empty vault. When the agents pursued the decoy transport vehicle, Jack returned to the warehouse, shattered the mirror, and stole the real cash. The staged car accident was also part of their plan. The horsemen prepared an identical backup car and used a bus to block the agents' view during the chase. After ensuring Jack's safe escape, they sent the backup car to crash. Inside, it was a corpse stolen from the morgue, completing the illusion of Jack's death. What puzzled Thaddeus was why he had been framed. As he tried to unravel the mystery, Dylan vanished from sight. When Thaddeus turned around, he saw Dylan standing outside the prison. The truth was revealed. Dylan had been the mastermind behind the Four Horsemen all along. Dylan's motives were rooted in a deeply personal vendetta. 30 years earlier, his father, a magician, had been publicly humiliated when Thaddeus exposed his tricks. Desperate to reclaim his reputation, Dylan's father attempted an underwater escape act that went tragically wrong due to faulty equipment, leading to his death. Afterward, the French bank and the corrupt insurance company colluded to cover up the incident and refused compensation, leaving Dylan devastated. Over the years, Dylan joined the secretive Magic Eye organization and recruited the Four Horsemen to execute his elaborate revenge plan. Together, they orchestrated 3 high-profile performances that targeted the French bank, the unethical sponsor, and Thaddeus. Each heist served as justice for Dylan's father, and by the end, Thaddeus was behind bars. The tarot cards bearing the Eye of Horus symbolized revenge, drawing inspiration from the ancient Egyptian myth of Horus avenging his father. With the completion of their mission, the Four Horsemen were officially inducted into the Magic Eye organization, marking the conclusion of a spectacular journey of vengeance and magic.